We've got two wonderful people with us. We've got Andrew and Nikki from
Yay.
the Brighton Community Night Shelter Project. So it's a real honour to have you guys in. So tell us a little bit about the project.
So we're a group of local activists, campaigners, volunteers, just genuinely wants to sort the homeless situation as we see it, as in the sense of shelter, as opposed to we're not here to solve the housing situation. My interest was that I live very close to Western Road, constantly seeing people sleeping in doorways at night, you know, in this day and age. People just walking past, and I just thought, no, this something has got to change. These people need help.
Yeah, the main thing is that we're made up of people who actually on a day-to-day basis work and support rough sleepers and homeless people in Brighton Hove. So we're seeing firsthand the need for a night shelter.
So can you tell us, I mean, I think anyone who lives in Brighton and Hove and has their eyes open can see the problem, as it were, in Brighton. Can you tell us a little bit more about the situation at the moment with the homeless community in Brighton and with what provision there is or isn't for shelter?
Well, funny enough, in Brighton and Hove, we've got a lot of great services. I mean, a lot of community groups run food services, support services, but there has been a huge gap, which is overnight. There's been no night shelter for a number of years now, and it's the one thing that people are crying out for. Particularly recently, there were attacks against rough sleepers and homeless people, and I know it made it into the Argos that there was a group of people going around attacking people, but actually there was two groups, and this is the thing that people don't realise and miss out on, because a lot of the people that have been attacked won't report it, because they're worried that once they report it, the police know where they sleep, and then at some point someone's going to come along and move them on. So they keep quiet, and it's only people like us who are out there talking to them on a daily basis that find out these things. So although everyone goes on about the winter, you know, and certainly no one wants to see people dying of cold in shop doorways, but there's a great danger during the summer due to the influx of tourists, due to the influx of party goers, and this is where a lot of the attacks are happening. Drunks are stamping on people in sleeping bags. They're urinating on them. I'm allowed to say urinate, I guess. Yeah. And, you know, just throwing things at them because they're drunk and it's the early hours of the morning. So there's a huge need for something that's going to give these people a safe space now, a safe place to sleep, and avoid personal injury and, in some cases, I guess, death.
Yeah.
But it's not just violence either. There's guys that we know are trying to come off alcohol, and because they've been dependent on it for so long, they have fits. Now, that makes it impossible for them to come off unless they've got a safe place where people are keeping an eye on them.
And I think as well, it's basic human rights. I mean, people are being left on the streets, vulnerable people, and it's also what we want to do. We want to fill the gaps because, again, as Andrew was saying, there's lots of services that help people that they consider as low needs or middle needs. And it's all the people that have got the high needs, the most vulnerable, that are actually being left on the streets. You know, is it because there's no funding for these people? And it is basic human rights that are being denied to these people every single night. You know, security, dignity, safety, privacy. You know, I think safety is probably, you know, one of the major things that if you asked a rough sleeper what they wanted, they would say safety. So with the Brighton Night Shelter, we would have security at night. Why? Because that's what they're asking for. It's a shame that this country seems to have just sort of, you know, we've all gone on board with I'm all right, Jack, and looking at people, you know, who haven't done so well as though they're lesser human beings. Well, they're not, and they've got rights. And this is where I come in, I think, as an activist and a campaigner. Not only that, people are having their stuff taken. There's a thing coming called the PSPOs. And, you know, people, rough sleepers, human beings, are being fined for having to sleep on the street and being moved on. Their stuff is taken as though they're worthless humans. They're not. They matter. And I think that's, it's just not good enough that only people with low priorities get help in this day and age. And that's why a group of us, and lots of community groups, grassroots groups, are all want to volunteer, help out. And so we're asking the council for the building that was voted in and promised on the 27th of January to come through with that. We're not solving the housing, but we're solving a big major issue that needs to be addressed.
So, can you tell us a bit more about that building? By the way, before we go on to that, I just want to say on behalf of the whole radio, I feel no fear in saying we're completely on side and massive, commendation for what you're doing.
Yeah, can I just say, for those who don't realise what a PSPO is, it's a public space protection order, and what it gives huge, broad-reaching powers that boil down to if someone thinks that you're spoiling their enjoyment of a public space, you can be moved on by law, which is crazy because, if someone's there singing too loud, you could in theory complain about it and they could get a PSPO served on them, which lasts for 3 years. So it's an absolute crazy amount of power for no reason.
And Nikki, Andrew, please tell us a bit more about this building and what the council have done or said that they're going to do in relation to this project.
Well, that is the big question. For 5 months, ever since the end of February, beginning of March, I've been asking about a particular building, which I won't name at the moment, but I was told consistently that no one had an idea who could give me access to it, to have a look at it. No one had an idea who could make the decision for it. And I did approach people such as, and I will name her because she's been on the radio, Larissa Reed, to find out about it. And the response I got was, we have no idea who you should contact. And it was sometime later we found out that one of the council private contractors has been using the building as a workshop and storage. So,
Wow.
Yeah, you can imagine what our response to that was. However, we've raised that with the council, and so far we haven't had a suitable response to that. So, unfortunately, we are still looking for premises.
Okay, so finding a premises is the next bit on kind of a project timeline. What does it look like? What's the vision once the building's obtained and once you can start to actually populate that building? What does it look like when it's up and running?
Well, when it's up and running, it will be, we have self-contained sleep pods that we've costed out. We haven't got them yet, I'll just add that.
Yeah,
but we have funded it, yes.
In the future where it's happening.
So there will be sleeping space for 40 people. And the pods are such that they can be put in banks or separately. So they can be moved around to separate people out if they need to be separated out between men, women, and people with different needs. And the idea would be that it would be completely open access, done on humanitarian grounds rather than no local connection needed, whatever the needs are. And this is one of the reasons why we opted for looking at private security to run overnight alongside volunteers. The volunteers will be there to socialise with the people that come in and find out what their needs are and whether we can support them. And the private security is there because, as Nikki said earlier, the majority of the rough sleepers that we've been speaking to have said that they have not felt safe in other shelters that are open access because they're run by volunteers. And that's nothing against volunteers. We've got Brighton and Hove is fantastic for volunteers. Yes. We've got such a great community here that do a lot. But when it comes to facing someone who's got high needs through whatever reason, volunteers are not always the best equipped to stand up and deal with them. And the visual deterrent of people in proper security gear cannot be understated, that it stops a lot of trouble before it starts. And this is what is coming from the guys who want to access this shelter. It's not something that we came up with and decided, oh, wouldn't it be great? It's actually talking to the people and asking what they want in the shelter. So basically people would come in, they'd be allocated a sleeping place which has lockable storage under it, so all of their items are safe, because another thing that people raised was the fact that theft happens a lot in shelters, that things go missing, mobile phones, sleeping bags, whatever, and there'd be an evening meal and a chance for us to sit down, talk with people, find out what their needs are, and signpost them towards services that can help them. We're very keen on partnering with other services because there are a lot of great services here.
And then also, if people start, it's about raising self-esteem as well. That's really important. If people start feeling that they matter, they're feeling that they're worth something, then they will go and possibly get the help that they need. But unless they really care about themselves, they're not going to want to access anywhere that can help them. Or even if they don't want any help, they still deserve shelter. There's a lot of hidden women in Brighton and Hove as well, and a lot of people that don't actually access help for whatever reasons. And I think so. The idea of having a security place will really, will be really important for them. Again, they are hidden. They really are hidden, and this will also be a place for them to access. A lot of them won't go to the night shelters. A lot of people that have got drink and drug problems won't go to night shelters because it's all around them. That's all the things that we can look into. And I think where we're different is we do speak to the rough sleepers. We can empathise with them. So in that sense we will be more authentic.
One of the other things that I think that makes us completely unique that I've learnt recently, having had discussions with the council and various other people about all the projects that are coming up, is that we have a huge buy-in from the rough sleepers themselves. That when I've been sat in the Alcampo Lounge, where I kind of do a pastoral office hours, if you like, the guys have been seeking me out and saying, "Oh, you're involved in that night shelter. How can I help? What can I do?" And I've been given lists of names of people that are builders, decorators, plumbers, electricians, all of them who are rough sleeping on our streets that want to help set something up. So if there is a premise out there that needs work doing on it, we actually have a gang of people.
For anyone out there who's listening, who can feel that passion rising in them and feel like they want to get up and do something, can they come and get involved in your project or in any of the other projects? And how would you advise them to do that?
Well, initially I would say get on Facebook and just connect with us, send us a message.
Okay. We have meetings every 2 weeks. They're open meetings and anyone's welcome. At 11 o'clock at the Duke of Wellington pub, Brighton. We are looking for volunteers. We're looking for fundraising and some fundraising ideas. We want to raise the profile. We want to get posters out there. We want to do some a project. One of our projects is actually asking rough sleepers, what would a shelter mean to you? And for them to just use one word, and we can then produce an art, a collage. We're also at the Brighton and Hove Housing Coalition conference on the 19th of August. It's at the St George's Crypt. And we will be doing workshops along with a lot of grassroots community-led groups as well, and they're very good. Anyone who wants to get involved, and you have to remember that shelter is not just for Christmas. It's an all-round thing. Pneumonia, rain, trench foot's coming back. This day and age, shelter is a commodity. It's ridiculous. It's a human right. So please do come, and it is very much community-led.
Lovely. Well, we'll share your Facebook page on our Facebook page, and when your next meeting comes around, we'll give that a little share as well. And thank you so much, guys, for coming in. As Andy said with the last interview, if we still exist, this is our second to last show on this station.
Oh no, we want to save you too.
But if we exist somewhere else in another incarnation, then we'll be in touch and we'll continue.
Brilliant. Yeah, and we can support you too.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.